Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Box Score, Monday, September 22nd. This is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And this is Beyond the Box Score, advanced stats from simple people. All right, welcome, everybody. I am wearing my Chiefs red, not because I lost the bet, just because it was the first shirt that's on top of the drawer. I really thought the Giants were going to win. I thought I was going to have bragging rights over Jamie and Thomas in college football. The Yankees are about to beat the crap out of the White Sox, so that's me over Dave. I thought I was going to have bragging rights over Jacob and Heath, but it turns out, because of Malik Neighbors' horrible performance, I'm only going to have bragging rights over Dan because I am going to likely beat him in the FFT league. So
oh, God, I hope that you somehow lose that game. It is only, I think I have like a 20-something% chance, according to the numbers, the projections, which never mean anything. So it's not over yet, and you just victory lapped it already, maybe even jinxing yourself, I should say. Well, yourselves. You have two players in that league. And by the way, I saw you bench Travion Henderson, your third-round pick that you swapped with me for James Cook. I still got that win going for me. But, yeah, I never had that feeling that you had and Jacob had that the Giants had any chance to win this football game because this game played out exactly as I thought it would. They'd have no chance offensively against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. And that's exactly what we watched yesterday. It was really easy to take Malik Neighbors out of the game and Russell Wilson out of the game. It was simply just play two split safe. Steve Spagnuolo ran split safety coverage on 79% of his snaps last night for the Chiefs. That was the third highest in his career as defensive coordinator. He essentially just played two high safeties, press double over Malik, take him out of the game. And what can Russell Wilson do? Nothing. So that was the game.
Yeah. Well, it worked. Jacob, Good morning or good afternoon. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing all right. It hurt me a little bit to hear you talk about not having bragging rights and bring up the Yankees because just a year ago you guys really hurt us, hurt the Royals. But you've already moved on. You don't care, but that did matter to us.
Yeah, that was I don't even remember. I don't remember that Kansas City had a team. Yeah. So today on the show we're going to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to tell you this: 4 of the top 9 wide receivers in drop rate right now are on the Jaguars. Wow. De'Ami Brown is number 1, Parker Washington number 4 in drop rate, and Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. are tied for 7th. They drop a lot of passes, including Brian Thomas Jr. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Brock Bowers and Asthon Jeanty. We'll talk about the most consistent performers in fantasy football and if they can keep it going. And I definitely want to focus on those Chargers wide receivers because so far 2 of them have been among the most consistent in fantasy football. But let's start with the Chiefs 22 and the Giants 9. And Tyrone Tracy Jr. was off to a good start, and then he left with a shoulder injury, so that was pretty much the only major injury. Andrew Thomas played about half of the game, and then they were just taking it easy with him. They removed him late in the first half. Jacob, what were your fantasy takeaways from this one?
No one else probably cares about this, but I do. I was really hoping we would see Jalen Royals for the Chiefs. Exciting rookie. He didn't get on the field at all, even for special teams. So it was just the same old crew that we've seen. About a 50-50 split in the backfield with Marquise Brown, Travis Hunter, Tyquan Thornton, and Juju Smith-Schuster playing all of the snaps. All those guys had a route rate above 70%. Tyquan made some plays. Tyquan continues to look good, look like the most explosive pass catcher that the Chiefs had, and we saw the targets finally catch up to that. So some of the separation data, the charting there has supported that, in addition to just watching the games, wow, he kind of pops. 9 targets in this spot. Tons of air yards. So he's someone to know potentially if Royals isn't able to get out there. They got him involved with some shorter catches and stuff as well. He had the most first downs for the Chiefs. But yeah, it's business as usual for the Chiefs. It's Mahomes. You hope that he can run. And if he doesn't run, then he's not going to be that good for fantasy. And none of these guys are going to be good for fantasy. Scatterboo though.
Well, yeah, but wait a sec. I want to try to make you a little encouraged by Patrick Mahomes. Okay. The one thing that I wanted to see, I think we all wanted to see, was is he going to push the ball downfield? Was he going to throw the ball deep? And so far, Patrick Mahomes is 10th in the NFL in pass attempts. He is 5th in pass attempts of 5 or fewer air yards. So he is throwing a lot of short balls, but he's also 8th in pass attempts of 16 or more air yards, 4th in pass attempts of 20 or more air yards, and he has the most pass attempts of 30 or more air yards in football. Number 2, by the way, is Russell Wilson. And he is struggling on the pass attempts of 20 or more air yards, 4 of 15, 169 yards and a touchdown. so far actually pretty good on the really deep balls, 30 or more air yards. But he's doing all of this without Xavier Worthy, and for what it's worth, without Rashee Rice. So I'm somewhat encouraged by the offensive philosophy. The ADOT, the air yards are way up, but it's mostly just because he's still taking these really easy safe throws. Doesn't do a lot of intermediate stuff, but he's combining that with deep shots. He's scoring a lot of fantasy points on these deep shots too. Remember, he drew a pass interference on a deep ball late in the second half that turned into 3 points. So I think Mahomes could actually really be, I don't know if he's going to be a league winner, but a really reliable starting quarterback most weeks if he comes back, if Xavier Worthy's back next week, which I expect, and he's still throwing the ball downfield a lot.
Love it. Yeah, the accuracy hasn't been good, but he delivered a really nice deep ball to Thornton that didn't, he let it hit the ground.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's good to see him being aggressive and pushing the ball down the field.
This was my first time actually watching Mahomes live. I always feel like the best seat in the house in a football game is the 300 tier. I know people don't agree with this. Is for a junkie like me, I get to watch the all 22.
Yeah, the live all 22.
Just live all 22. I was very thoroughly unimpressed with what I saw live from Mahomes in my first time watching.
Oh man,
I hate to say it. Like the first half, he missed a lot of throws from clean pockets. Ball placement was just terrible. I thought for him. Now it's not terrible compared to the rest of the NFL, but I don't like. We went over it this offseason, Jacob and I, when we did our QB tiers. All the charting in the data said he's been really bad basically for 25 games from a catchable target rate standpoint. Ball placement 10 to 19, 20 plus, like you just mentioned, Adam. And then to see it live, it was just kind of surprising to me. Like Herbert, the Giants will play Herbert next week, and I fully expect him to look a lot better as a throw over the football than what I just saw with Mahomes. But I think the key takeaway for fantasy in this entire game to me is Cam Skattebo. First of all, obviously, Tracy, like you said, looked good before he went down. Kudos to him. But Skattebo proved once again that he can handle a big workload already with this team. And that was something that was always a big discussion point in the offseason. He didn't play during the preseason much. He had a few snaps at the end, didn't miss most of training camp. Can he pick up blitzes? That was a big problem for him at Arizona State. And he even talked about this last week with one of the members of Giants.com. He looked good in pass protection 2 weeks in a row. He looks natural in the receiving game. He's an explosive player. He actually live, it looked like, okay, he gets some people like, oh, will he translate, college to NFL? It's kind of tough to tell with his skill set. He's translating, man. He's explosive in space. He's explosive with his first step. He creates an incredible amount of yards after contact. And I just want to shout out this tweet Jacob had earlier this offseason, back during draft season. Just find it really interesting. Career scrimmage yards per game, 141 for Asthon Jeanty in college, 135 for Skattebo. Scrimmage yards per game in 2024, 196 for Jeanty, 178 for Skattebo. Career rushing success rate, 50% for Skattebo, 46% for Jeanty. Career avoided tackle rate, 38% for Jeanty, 35% for Skattebo. And then in 11 of 13 games against actual competition, Power 4 schools in 2024, he had 100+ yards in 11 of those games. He is a phenomenal talent and not too far behind, at least by the numbers, Asthon Jeanty.
All right, we'll see. I mean, he's really slow for a running back.
Is he, though? He looked pretty explosive to me. I mean, deep speed, obviously, like 40-yard dash. Like he's not going to break a 50-yard run, obviously.
No, I mean, he could, right? Because if he does, it'd probably be because he ran 3 people over, which he can do. There was one run where I thought he tried to bounce outside, and you could see I think he got caught up on the backside. I don't know if you remember that. But
he also had a couple of those plays that worked.
That worked when he bounced outside.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, look, I won't harp on the speed. The fact is, he's got a really good opportunity here, especially if Tyler Tracy misses time. He has looked better than Tracy this year. He obviously can catch the ball. He was certainly one of the most productive running backs in college. So it's good stuff. And they did seem to open up some holes this week, which they haven't been able to do most of the year. Are you guys worried about Malik Neighbors? And I think, honestly, if a team plays Dallas, think about this for all of you who have Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. I'm serious. If they play Dallas, it could make them look a lot better than they are. So Malik Neighbors, 5 catches, 71 yards on 12 targets in week 1. That's 12.1 PPR fantasy points at Washington. Last night, 2 catches for 13 yards on 7 targets. Scored 37.7 fantasy points against the Dallas Cowboys. So, I don't have the bandwidth to worry about Malik Neighbors. I'm already worried about other players. I can't deal with it. I need someone that I thought was going to be good to be good. But I was worried about this with Neighbors. And also, I was worried about the offense in general. I think Russell Wilson's overrated. The moonball stuff, I'm sick and tired of hearing it. And I think Jackson Dart's going to be the quarterback maybe in week 5. Yeah. So maybe in week 4. So, yeah, like, are we worried about Malik Neighbors? I went through all the elite wide receivers last night, and I said, what round would you draft them in if we were drafting again today? So I'll ask you that about Neighbors. Give me a round.
He was round 2 for me, and that's basically where he would be, still like early round 2. I was talking to my brother this morning, and he's lamenting about, how tough it is having BTJ on your roster. And it's like, dude, everybody from that range has sucked. Like,
everyone had that range. Yep.
Has been terrible. Nico Collins, he got a busted play, but other than that, has not been doing anything for you. Obviously, BTJ, Drake London, Michael Penix looks really bad. We thought that was a really good range, and then it's been pretty awful for almost everyone from that range.
It's funny because the back end, after that range, and even if you want to throw into it aggressive drafters like you and I, Jacob, Brock Bowers, who we'll talk about on today's show, that's also been a massive bust in that range. I know most drafted him a little bit after that. AJ Brown was a bust in that range until this week. But honestly, you go further up top, it doesn't get that much better. Neighbors, we talked about, besides Puka the God, but Justin Jefferson. I mean, okay game, but what are we expecting with Carson Wentz? And really, in my mind, with JJ McCarthy. So Jamar Chase, yikes.
Everybody sucks. Everybody sucks. That's today's episode.
Not everybody sucks.
You see the thumbnail.
Backs until they get hurt are real deal players. Christian McCaffrey, right? Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. And I know Jacobs didn't have his best game yesterday because
Christian McCaffrey has the second most catches in football.
Yeah, this is what I thought would. This is why you draft him where you draft him.
It's too much.
He has a 29% target
too
share.
Much.
It's like anyone would get hurt with this kind of work. I mean, he's just so many hits, and I don't know. All right,
I'm worried about him and Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving had 29 touches this week.
Yikes!
And that O-line is collapsing.
The Giants stink, and the Chiefs are hopefully on their way back to being good. I just think they need to get healthy and should start next week with Worthy being back. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Beyond the box score this week. Obviously, if you're listening to Fantasy Football Today right now and you're listening in the FFT feed, there is a separate Beyond the Box Score feed. Please subscribe to it. If you're on youtube.com/Fantasy Football Today, if you click the live tab, you'll see the FFT episodes. If you click just the videos, you may not see everything in the live tab. So click videos if you want to see Beyond the Box Score. There's a lot of tabs. Just explore youtube.com/Fantasy Football Today. We're up to 120K subscribers. That's very good. But let's get to 130. Tell your friends, subscribe to Fantasy Football Today. Some big news for you here. James Conner is out for the season. All right, I'll ask you guys what I asked the fellas yesterday. What round would you draft Trey Benson in?
Good question. 4, 5, 4, 5, something like that.
Maybe earlier for me.
Really?
I was a big Benson guy coming out of college. Yeah, he had before the injury, he had the second best forced missed tackle rate ever charted, I think, at the college level. Really explosive talent, and I do still believe in the Cardinals' run game enough. Plus, they have a super easy schedule, so I think it would be probably closer to round 3 for me.
I'd 100% take him over Chase Brown.
Yes.
I think I'd take him over Travis Etienne.
Yeah. Benson or Javonte?
Javonte, put him up there. We talked about him all last week on Beyond the Box Score. I am all in on Javonte Williams. I watched him this game. He looked awesome out there.
So good.
He looked like old school Javonte Williams out there on one of those runs. I was like, oh my God, he's back.
I know.
But Lamb needs to be healthy because that offense is just not the same without Lamb. And we could obviously see that, and it takes away his scoring ceiling. But there's no real reason Javonte Williams can't have a good season. There's nothing behind him, and he's on a great offense. It's going to be playing from behind the entire year.
All right. So that's an idea of where Trey Benson is. All right, we're going to do more news and notes in a second, but we should really throw a break in here. So let's take a break, talk about anything that you may have missed, but I think you pretty much know all the big injuries. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. All right, some more news items for you here. Najee Harris, the Achilles injury. We're expecting him to be out for the year. CeeDee Lamb says he feels good about playing next week.
Wow.
That would be against the Green Bay Packers. Mike Evans, hamstring injury. I haven't seen an update there, and I have not seen an update on Terry McLaurin. It didn't seem so bad with McLaurin. It's a quad
injury.
With
Evans, right?
Didn't look great. I mean, it's so funny. It's not funny, but odd that Godwin's going to be back next week, and now Evans.
Right.
You're just thinking, what do I do with Ibuka? He just keeps producing.
Yeah.
Colson Loveland left with a hip injury. Carson Wentz is going to start next week. That's the first Europe game is Vikings-Steelers. And Tyrone Tracy with the shoulder injury, and also Brian Dable did not commit to Russell Wilson in week 4 against the Chargers. Man, what a tough slate for Jackson Dart. If the next 4 games, Chargers, Saints, Eagles, Broncos, and then Eagles, and then Niners again. It's so tough. The next 6 games, 5 of them are done.
I think they should wait to put him in until the second half of the season and play Jameis right now. That's what I would do.
As a Malik Neighbors manager, I also would do that.
Yeah.
We want Jameis. All right, it's time for football at BetMGM. And when you register with BetMGM, you're going to get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, boost tokens, and the best daily promotions in the business. Plus, when you huddle up with BetMGM at your fingertips, every pass, every catch, and every game matter more than ever. So football's back, and don't miss out on any of the hard-hitting action. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with BetMGM today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. All right, some snap counts and other stuff. Anybody got some stats they want to throw out?
Career high in snaps and touches for both Bucky Irving and Jaylen Warren, 2 of my favorites, little buff boys. I hope they can hold up.
Little buff boys?
Little buff boys.
What is little buff boys?
Squishing and scrunching.
Is that I think you should leave?
Buff little bodies. You don't know little buff boys?
That's what I thought it was. Good God, that is the funniest segment. It is so funny. I thought it was babies, though.
Baby of the year. That's another one.
Okay. That's so funny. You got a new show coming out.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
The Chair Company.
Yeah,
very excited for that.
Next month.
All right. So career highs for Jaylen Warren and Bucky Irving. Anything else? I have some stuff. Just
let's hear it.
Okay. Trey Tucker continues to play every snap, nearly every snap. Dylan Sampson played 8% of the snaps.
Womp womp.
So if you think Judkins is going to get suspended, then maybe don't drop Sampson.
Also, not to mention, this was like the perfect game script for Judkins and no Sampson, where the Browns are actually in the game the whole time.
They were in the game, but they were also trailing, but not by much.
Yeah.
Matthew Golden played 71% of the snaps, so that was encouraging. Travis Hunter, only 53% of the offensive snaps. Chase Brown, season low, 55.4% of the snaps. I meant to look more into that. I don't know if that was blowout stuff in the fourth quarter. I think it may have been.
I'll look it up.
And then, Hunter Henry is really I'm mad. I'm just mad. It's like kind of liked him as a sleeper. He averaged about 10 PPR points per game with a healthy Drake May last year. And that's good, right? And then, week 1, he has a big game, and I picked him up. I bought into it. I started him week 2. The reason I bought into it is because Austin Hooper barely ran any routes in week 1. And I remember last year, it was like every time I would buy into Hunter Henry last year, Austin Hooper would have the good game and Henry would do nothing. So week 2, obviously I start Henry and he does horribly. And then week 3, he does great. But Austin Hooper did have a 45% route participation rate for the second straight week. So I don't know what to make of it. I think he could really help you at tight end, Austin, not Hooper, but Henry. But I don't think it's going to be consistent.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, people were surprised I didn't list him as one of the most encouraging guys from week 3 in terms of usage and everything. And it was great. It wasn't just the production. The usage was also great. And the connection could be there with May. But like, we kind of saw this last year where it was up and down a lot. And now we have Josh McDaniels too. And it's just like, it's kind of like, it's not like Troy Franklin at all, but like it reminded me of Troy Franklin, where it's like, I want to buy in. There's reasons, like anecdotally, to think that this could be cool, but it's like Sean Payton at the end of the day. I don't really trust that he's not going to just like pull the rug at any point.
Josh McDaniels, but I know what you meant there.
Right. No, I was correlating.
Oh, you were going with my bad.
I was comparing it to Payton. It's like those two coaches more than
yes.
Like, who knows what they'll do any given week. On Chase Brown, he got like 73% snap rate in the first quarter. They were giving it all to him, turned into 0 rushing yards on 5 carries. And from that point on, it was more of like 50-50 split. And the first half, he had a 58% snap rate.
If I asked you guys, who do you think? Oh, so the last snap count thing I had was at Stephon Diggs. Again, he played about half the snaps. So I think someone you might be dropping. I do think, if you didn't watch it, Drake May, look, he makes mistakes. He had a couple of overthrows that should have been interceptions. He had an actual interception. He had a fumble. It's why I am hesitant with him, but there are just a lot of moments where he just looks so good.
So,
yeah.
And could really have a big season. So I don't know that I'd want to drop
yeah.
Diggs, but I don't think Diggs is going to be the reason he has a big season.
I think at one point he had completed passes to 8 different receivers, and that's just a good. It goes back, harpens on what Jacob said about Josh McDaniels. They're going to spread the ball around.
I've got a few more snap rates. So on the Sean Payton note, Tyler Beatty barely played. Bidet barely played at all.
But neither did Harvey.
Yeah, I think
they didn't run a lot of plays, Jacob. They ran like 40-something plays, 48 plays, something.
Below 50 plays. Anytime you see that, that's an outlier. But yeah, I think that is a good thing eventually. And just in general, it's good for fantasy because you can't do anything with him, but like that's better for Dobbins and or Harvey potentially. Darnell Mooney, full-time player, seems to be good to go. We just need more than 0 points. 82% snap rate for Troy Franklin. So we did see it back-to-back weeks. That's good. Amari Hampton up to 79%. It was like basically all the snaps after Najee was out. Cam Scatterbo 70% after the injury. So he was like pretty much full-time workhorse there. And Christian Kirk, 68% in his first game back, mostly playing in the slot. Travis Hunter down to 53% again. Ramondre Stevenson, 35%, double fumble game. Travion Henderson's rate was 84% following the fumbles from Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. So it was like, we're just giving it to him. We'll see what it's like next week, but that's what it was like this week at least.
Until the last drive of the game. And this is what bothers me a little bit. The last drive of the game, they put Stevenson back in. So when it really mattered most, maybe for pass blocking, they had Stevenson in. After the game, Stevenson, I guess they said that we need you. You're a big part of this team. He said, well, they're not going to need me if I keep fumbling. So I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. Like we're going to get 84% Travion going forward.
Yeah.
Probably not. The only other one is only 30% for Luther Burden. So I don't expect a big change here really. We did see like Ben Johnson come out firing with some of these plays designed for Luther Burden, designed for Colson Loveland. Freaking got hurt, unfortunately, hip injury for Loveland. But it wasn't like a full-on role expansion. It was just like we got a deep play to him, and basically other than that, he just kind of played the same role. It's just like a slow build is where we're at with Burden, I think.
Yeah, and it was the flea flicker, right? And
yes, it was a slow developing flea flicker.
Yes,
crazy to watch. Yeah. But the Cowboys are just so inept. It worked, and that's the other thing with the Burden thing. It's like he'll be a heavy free agent, pick up this week waiver wire guy. But I think you're better off just targeting whoever's playing that Cowboys secondary.
Dave Richard is in the chat, I believe, when he's IMing me privately and saying that Tyrone Tracy has a dislocated shoulder.
Oof.
That's tough news.
Great.
Yeah.
What does that even mean I don't know what the timeline is on an injury like that.
It's Scatterbo time. I mean, maybe Tracy comes back and cuts into it at some point, but to me, it's just like it's Scatterbo time until he gets hurt because he's spearing everyone every single play.
That is the other thing about him. He just uses his helmet for everything. He's like, I'm going to chip block this rusher here.
Oh, he's crazy.
His ribs. And, yeah, he is a little nuts. Todd Bowles says that Mike Evans is going to have an MRI, but it seems low grade right now. But they won't know until tomorrow if Evans is going to have to miss any time. I was going to ask you guys before I got into that Stephon Diggs thing, if you were going to guess, not right now, but at the end of the season when we do our superlatives and we say, who was the biggest bust of 2025? I'm thinking it's going to be Chase Brown.
Really?
That's kind of where I'm at. I think he might just be so bad.
Well, I kind of agree with that. I traded him away last week in one league.
I think we've got too many live candidates at the very top.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
where,
what about Brian Thomas Jr.?
They were invested much more heavily in than Chase Brown.
I'm more confident in Brian Thomas Jr. And I don't think
I agree with that.
Wasn't going that much earlier than Chase Brown. Like,
that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Like Jeanty, Asthon Jeanty and Chase Brown are like the exact same thing right now. Like they're the two running backs that have negative yards before contact. In the entire NFL, there's two running backs that have negative yards before contact through 3 games. It's those two.
Good point. Jeanty's probably.
I think that Jeanty's better, and I think that Geno's better than what we've got with Jake Browning. So like, hopefully it gets better. But if it doesn't, if it keeps being like this, he's not playing passing downs. He literally only had rushes this week.
Yeah.
So like, that's a terrible fantasy player. That's not what you want at all.
Good point.
They could just throw to him on 1st and 2nd down.
That would be awesome.
Right? They could do that. but they haven't been. Jeanty is a topic. Let's get to our 4 big topics, as we just talked about 2 of the guys here. Brian Thomas Jr. So topic number 1 from Ryan. Year 2 of Brian Thomas Jr. is not starting off well. He has 7 catches for 115 yards on 25 targets in 3 games. Brian Thomas Jr. has 3 drops. He had 6 last year, and he has a 28% catch rate. He also doesn't really have a good schedule. In fact, I'm going to ask Dave what the Jaguars' rest of season schedule is, because Dave tracks all that, and it's just not that great. But so where are you guys on him? And he is a huge bust so far.
I wish I had something to add. If you want to watch all of his drops, you can watch his targets. They're on. I made a cut up of it for you. So I don't know. Like it feels like he's overthinking things or whatever. Who knows? It seems like if all of these drops were scattered over the course of a full season, it would just be normal plays. That's the thing, is he's dropping these in a variety of different ways, like where it's like he's about to try to turn and make yak, and he just like doesn't quite hold on to it, or he's like making a catch and somebody knocks it out. And it's like, that happens to anybody. But the fact that they've all been here at the beginning of the season is like, is he just going to keep doing this? Like, can we not use him? I don't know. I think like the fact that he's so talented and that a lot of the things in the offense are working, you could in theory buy him, and this might well be the absolute cheapest he'll be, because really the rest of the offense is working. The run game is working. Diami Brown targets are working. Parker Washington targets are working. Britton Strange targets are working. Like, the offensive line is playing better than expected. Everything is working except for BTJ and Hunter. It to me just feels like there's all this pressure around getting those guys working. And if we can get into a normal groove here, which are they 2-1 or 3-0 or something like that?
They're 2-1. They lost to
2-1. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe the fantasy side of things like makes this feel more intense than it really is. And like, actually things are going pretty well for what they're trying to do there with a new coach, having Hunter play both sides and everything. Obviously the BTJ stuff sucks, but like, it wouldn't surprise me if it gets on track and then it's really cool.
Yeah. This image I'm showing here on the screen, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. This is him having a step on Derek Stingley, who didn't play much in this game. And I said in our pregame show, our starters, I'm like, he's going to beat Derek Stingley. He's going to get past him. I don't know that the quarterback can get him the ball, though, accurately. And on this play, Lawrence made a pretty good throw. Thomas went up and he tried to, kind of high point it. And I think Stingley may have knocked it out of his hands. I'm not sure if we consider this a drop. It was a tough play, but he had an opportunity here for a big play. Here, look here. He said he's pretty much wide open. And then it says, sacked you. Right? This could have been a touchdown. He never had a chance to see him.
The game's not over yet.
Also, the safeties. I don't know why the safeties for the Texans are saying, hey, did you hear Adam beat Dan in the FFT league? They are.
This game's not over yet. That's the craziest part. Like, I could easily win tonight.
You could win if St. Brown has a big game.
Yeah.
But look, there weren't a lot of opportunities. There were those, though. Even if he didn't have the other 2 drops, those were probably shorter plays anyway. But I don't know. The thing is, Tyreek Hill had a wrist injury last year, and it really affected him. I can't tell if it's affecting Brian Thomas Jr. It's obviously not affecting the way he runs. I'm still optimistic. I want to buy in. He's just too talented. So, Dan, how about you?
So when he came out of LSU into the draft, he wasn't a perfect prospect, right? He had insane size, speed combination. So like, why wouldn't he be a top 5, top 10 pick? There were issues with 1, concentration drops. 2, did he run the full route tree? Do they expect him to run the full route tree? I think the second aspect he proved in his rookie season he can do. He can run any route. But the concentration drops, like I watched that entire cut up you put up, Jacob. There's 2 things going on there. There's multiple just concentration drops, which is just weird. And then there's also just like a lack of remember when Odell Beckham Jr. broke out with the Giants, one thing he credited to his breakout was that he works so hard on grip strength. Then that's why he doesn't drop passes. And that's why he's able to make these catches. I feel like there was at least one target I watched on that cut up Jacob did where he should have caught the pass and the ball got knocked out. I'm not like crediting the DB there with a good play. I'm taking it away from Brian Thomas, who doesn't have the strength to keep that ball in. Like, he should not have lost that football. And then finally on his big play of the game, I watched it back on tape, And it was simply just a coverage breakdown, a coverage bust by the Texans. You can see the outside corner over the top of him at the start of that play. It's playing off coverage with outside leverage, and he's supposed to take the outside receiver. And you could watch after the play, he and the other D-back look at each other like, what the heck happened there? I had outside leverage. Why am I expected to follow Brian Thomas on an in-breaking route? And so they just kind of threw their hands up at each other like, what happened there? So I don't even want to give him too much credit for that. Like, he looked explosive on it post-catch, but he had a lot of space because it was a coverage bust. So I don't know, man. I was expressing a lot of concern with Thomas last week on our Beyond the Box Score show and where we were ranking him moving forward, and I'm just like not really in on him.
Parker Washington has a 19% explosive reception rate ahead of Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase, George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
11 targets.
2.2 yard per out run rate, which is also excellent, just for the chat, because they're telling me that he had 4 catches this week on 11 targets. That's not working. It really has like all been working. I just like want to shout out Liam Cohen. I don't know how good he is as a head coach, but the offense is working pretty well outside of 2 players.
One thing it's not working. Trevor Lawrence is 1 of 10 for 23 yards on pass attempts of 10 or more 20 or more air yards. So they have
even on that bomb to Thomas. That wasn't really a good throw. It was he shouldn't have to rise up and catch it kind of behind him.
Yeah, honestly, there are some deep balls are tough. I talk about this a lot. Oh, he missed them on a deep ball. That happens all the time. They're difficult. I haven't seen a lot of on those. I looked at his throws, his 11. I guess it was 10 throws. I thought it was 11. Usually there's only one, I think, where a guy was kind of open, and that was a difficult throw too. Like these guys are being covered. It's not like he's missing wide open guys downfield. He's 0 of 5 on pass attempts to Brian Thomas Jr. of 20 or more air yards. So that's the one thing that has not clicked. Michael Penix, Joe Flacco, and Trevor Lawrence have been the 3 worst in the NFL in terms of 20 or more air yard throws. They are a combined 4 for 32 on 20 or more air yards throws. All right, so let me just finish off with this. I'm going to give you a few players. You tell me, would you rather have Brian Thomas Jr. or Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen?
I still think Brian Thomas Jr.
BTJ.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton.
BTJ.
Oh,
Sutton.
wow. I think I'll take the safety of Sutton.
Same.
Javonte Williams.
Oh. I can't even believe how high I am on Javonte Williams rest of season. It's like unfathomable.
Come on, what are you gonna do? You know what?
All things equal, I'll go with BTJ. But if you're like 1 and 3,
about like this, would you trade BTJ for Javonte right now? And that's how you answer this question. So I would not do that. So BTJ.
Okay. All righty. Let's take a break. We got 3 more big topics when we come back, including who are the most consistent fantasy options through the first 3 weeks. We'll be right back.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We are back, and we are talking about consistency. Fantasy managers love it. Who are the most consistent fantasy options through the first 3 weeks of football? This is from our year, on Twitter. Did you guys have names? Did you want me to lead this?
You can lead it. You hit most of the ones that I was looking at.
Yeah, I only have running backs and wide receivers so far. So Jonathan Taylor, 17 or more carries, 2 to 3 catches on 2 to 4 targets in each game. Christian McCaffrey has scored between 22.7 and 24.0 PPR fantasy points in all 3 games, and he's done that with only 1 touchdown in 3 games. Are you guys concerned about McCaffrey? His longest run so far is 15 yards. His longest run last year was 19 yards. So now that's 102 carries over the last 2 seasons, and he doesn't have a 20-yard run. That did happen earlier in his career. 2020 and 2021, those 2 seasons, he only had 158 carries. He missed a lot of time, and he didn't have a single run over 20 yards. So it is a small sample. But again, it's 102 carries over the last 2 years without a 20-yard run for Christian McCaffrey. Does that bother you guys at all?
I'll take this one. In the same way that it doesn't bother me in reference to Cam Scatterboo, it does not bother me when we talk about Christian McCaffrey. They're basically the exact same player from a fantasy profile right now, except one plays for the 49ers, one plays for the Giants.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I feel like that was very on the wrong side of an Azer stat. Like, I'll tell you why I say that. We're using this like it hasn't happened in 2 years. Well, last year he was injured the whole year and then playing through the injury and he didn't even play at all. So like I don't know if I could stretch that back that hasn't happened 2 years with such a limited sample size the year before. But I think it's a function of the 49ers offense right now, which I think is what Jacob was alluding to. It's not a very good offense. They're not as good as they used to be in the blocking game. A lot of that will change in my mind when Purdy gets healthy and when Ayuk gets back on the field. One of the things that's underrated about Ayuk's game is he's a great blocker on the perimeter.
All right. James Cook has been very consistent. He only had 4 games last year with 19 or more carries. He already has 2 this season.
Beast.
Javonte Williams has been very consistent, and I love 11 catches in the last 2 games for Javonte Williams. Here's a guy that's been consistent, but maybe you want to sell if this is really his role. Travis Etienne, 14 to 16 carries in all 3 games, but only 2 to 3 targets in all 3 games. Like, obviously, that could change in a heartbeat. Jacob and I were joking as I was saying how Josh Jacobs has this 3% target per route run rate going into week 3. They never throw him the ball, 1 target in 2 games. He had 9 targets yesterday. So obviously it changed. But Etienne, the thing, if you missed it, his touchdown against the Texans yesterday, they let him score. So they wanted to get the ball back. So if he doesn't have that touchdown, he has a pretty lousy game. And I think again, it's kind of a tough schedule. Dave says that Brian Thomas Jr. has kind of a middle of the pack schedule going forward. Etienne has the Niners, the Chiefs, the Seahawks, the Rams, then a bye, then the Raiders, who have a really good run defense so far, then the Texans. It looks kind of rough for Etienne. J.K. Dobbins, let me get your thoughts on him. He has scored, I think, probably the most consistent player, 14.8 to 15.5 PPR fantasy points in all 3 games. And in the last 2 games, the Broncos have run 54 and 48 plays. So very low volume there. But who's buying J.K. Dobbins as a must-start RB2, like a high-end RB2 going forward?
Real quick, and then I want to hear Dan's thoughts on Dobbins for sure, because he was higher on me than Dobbins this year, and he looks good so far. How I approached this question was I looked at Fantasy Points Data's expected fantasy points model to see which running backs were like consistently finishing top 20-ish. I think that's our best bet is like the usage that's getting them there rather than maybe the fantasy points. And 2 guys that stood out, you've already mentioned one of them was Javonte. He was running back 12, then running back 9, then running back 15 in XFP week over week. Another one was Jalen Warren, running back 20, and then running back 16, and then running back 3 this week in XFP. And last week, it was looking like a top 5 finish before it became a blowout. Dobbins, his usage worries me a little bit, but I think it could get better. Like we mentioned, like Bidet saw his role scaled back, and we know the Broncos have thrown the ball to the running back position a lot, and that's why his XFP numbers aren't so high, is because he really hasn't had a lot of targets yet. But with that said, running back 27 in XFP in week 1, and then running back 14 last week, running back 31 this week. So he's getting there through efficiency. He's making plays on his own, which he's always done.
Yeah.
Running back 1 in yards per carry since entering the NFL at 5.2, J.K. Dobbins. So well, what do you think, Dan? What have you seen on film?
Yeah, so Dobbins is a player I was really high on this offseason. I wish I was a little higher, but the Harvey factor kind of threw me off a bit. But death, taxes, and Sean Payton running backs being consistent, successful forces in the fantasy football game is really where we're at. And for those who want the stats behind it, I don't have them in front of me, but just type into Google Dave Richard, because he wrote an excellent article on it, plus Sean Payton, plus CBS Sports. And I think you'll get the article that he wrote up with all his research from when Sean Payton was traded to the Broncos. And it dates back through his history as a play caller. And you just consistently see running backs as success stories at the fantasy level. And right now, Dobbins is the guy in that backfield. I know, the snap rates aren't perfect. It's kind of like a James Cook type situation to me, where you're not going to get that bell cow roll, but you're going to get impactful, effective snaps and touches for this player. And Dobbins, like Jacob said, is in that Cook range of averaging 5 yards per carry over that for his career. Like, that's how effective he is. He's really good at manipulating the blocks. He's really good at running with pacing. So I'm still high on him moving forward. And I also feel like this Broncos offense hasn't even taken a step yet. Like, they're a step behind where they could be, which would mean even more scoring opportunities for Dobbins.
Yeah, Bo Nix was really close to having a huge game yesterday. Just a lot of deep balls that were just off the fingertips or something like that. Jalen Warren's also been extremely consistent. Oh, last thing on Dobbins. The Broncos have 3 running back carries from the 5-yard line or closer. Dobbins has all 3 of them. Jalen Warren's been very consistent, as Jacob mentioned. The wide receivers that I highlighted, Puka Nakua's just rolls out of bed and scores 20 PPR points. He hasn't caught a touchdown yet, has he?
No.
Right? So he's just been amazing. JSN, 96 or more yards in all 3 games, 18.3 to 20.6 PPR fantasy points in each game. Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston are really the two I wanted to talk about here. I mean, this is where it gets super interesting. I can't think of a team that had 3 top 24 wide receivers in the same year. Now, there was a year where the Carolina Panthers had, I think it was DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel, but Samuel had a lot of rushing production, and they like led the NFL in pass attempts, or they were close. So this Chargers offense is fascinating. Quentin Johnston yesterday had, I don't have his numbers, I think he had 71 yards yesterday. He was actually shadowed by Patrick Surtain yesterday, not on every single route. There were some routes where he started out on Surtain, then he ran kind of over the middle of the field. They were in zone coverage, so he didn't end up on Surtain, but that's the treatment he got yesterday. Keenan Allen's about 55 yards every game and has caught a touchdown every game.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey is the number 42 wide receiver in fantasy in PPR right now. He's last among those 3 in targets. He has 7 fewer targets than Allen. He has 3 fewer targets than Quentin Johnston. It's crazy, but this team, they are pass heavy. They're 12th in pass rate. They're 5th in pass rate in the first 3 quarters of games.
Yep.
They're 9th in pass rate in any quarter when the score is within 7 points, when the margin is within 7 points. So that's what they've been so far, but it just doesn't, I don't know how this happens unless Justin Herbert is very possible, by the way, 4,800 or more yards, approaching 40 touchdowns.
Right. Why
Then
wouldn't
you
he be?
get 3 must-start guys. Right now, you only have 2 guys who have been must-start. McConkey's been a huge bust. But anyway, every week, Johnston and Allen are putting up their numbers. So, Jacob, your thoughts on this Chargers passing game?
Yeah, even in this matchup against the Broncos and Surtain, really, really wildly impressive to see what we're seeing from QJ. I did not expect to see QJ's targets that high. On the McConkey note, I definitely think he's still a buy. I'm going to watch, I plan to watch like every route that he ran if I have time before we do our next episode, Dan, to confirm that for people that there's not, because last year I watched literally every route that this guy ran. I was obsessed with him. And I just want to make sure that he looks the same. But what I've heard from like Matt Harmon is that he does look the same. And so to me, it's like, we've got all these other pieces to threaten people. Now we finally got the run game going here this week. And the team is still passing so much that it's like, if you would have told me these were the circumstances for McConkey going into the year, I would have ranked him up in that range of receivers who are killing us right now. Drake London, Nico, all those guys. But I legitimately think that's where he would have belonged. The stat I've got on the screen, though, I think it's just really fun and interesting. Not on today's show sheet or anything, but like Juwan Jennings looks identical to Ladd McConkey. In fact, even a little bit better if you look at all of the per route data since the start of last year. So both of them kind of like broke out last year. It's a weird comparison because McConkey's a rookie and Jennings isn't. But like Jennings had always been a part-time player and was going into last year. So he had a bit of a slow start. But on a per opportunity basis, like, I just want to highlight this because like he's so good, and like the McConkey numbers are still really good.
Right.
But fantasy points per out run 0.48 for Jennings, 0.45 for McConkey. Very similar average depth of target. More targets going to Jennings. And as you look at the situation now, it's like McConkey has more clear target competition. We're seeing that come to fruition, whereas Jennings has basically just Pearsall. I think CMC's 29% target share is like by necessity. So I think that's going to probably scale back a little bit when we get everybody back and healthy. So just wanted to mention him as a clear buy because I do still think McConkey is, I'm not worried. Like, I know it sucks the way it's gone, but I think he's such a good player that will have some huge weeks soon to make up for it. And I think Jennings, you can mention in the same vein. Do you want to see some just crazy stats on Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Sure.
So what I've got here, first off, on Puka, his air yardage continues to increase, which I think is notable because like we've mentioned that he's playing more slot reps now with Cooper Kupp gone. And so this surprised me, but it's just like things are so ridiculously hyper concentrated on these 2 players for the Rams right now with Puka and Devontae Adams. And we've just continued to see these numbers increase year over year for Puka, who had the most historically unprecedented rookie season we've ever seen. And he just keeps getting better. He just keeps adding to his game. for his career now, he's averaging over 3 yards per route run, which during the time that we have yard per route run available, it's like dating back to 2013, no receiver has done over a 3-year span ever at any age, let alone their first freaking 3 years in the league. The guy's just nuts. The really, really interesting thing to me here, as it pertains to both Puka and then surprisingly Jackson Smith and Jigba, is this. So dating back to 2013, we have 4 instances of a wide receiver averaging over 4 yards per route run with a route rate, the percentage of the team's dropbacks where they ran a route, of 80% or higher. I do think that qualifier is really important, because if you don't have it, you get some like Deshaun Jackson seasons where he just had some crazy long touchdowns at the beginning of the year and that inflated the yard per route run number. Or like Michael Gallup was somebody who popped up where he was like not quite a full-time player and he had a really good year. I'm talking about his second season in the league, but like these are guys who from the get-go are clearly instituted as the wide receiver one in their offense. They're playing a ton and they're averaging a ridiculous yard per route run number. The only 4 that have done it, we have 2 this year, Puka and JSN. 2015 Antonio Brown, 2023 Tyreek Hill. AB had 388 PPR points. Tyreek had 376. If I drop the threshold to 3.5 yards per route run rather than 4, just to give us a larger group, it's still an insane group. The lowest PPR point total is AJ Green at 274, which for reference, that would have been wide receiver 4 in points per game last year. You've got AJ Green, Larry Fitzgerald, Mike Evans of 2018, several Tyreek Hill seasons, Deebo Samuel's 2021 season, Cooper Kupp's 2021 season, Julio Jones in 2015. We're looking at receivers through 3 games, 3.5 yards per route run or higher with an 80% route rate. Jackson Smith and Jigba is at 4.68 yards per route run. So I don't know if we can believe in this offense and know it's not going to sustain this type of efficiency all year. But anytime we've ever seen anything like this, it's been a monster fantasy season.
Awesome. Great stat. Great stat.
I love that.
All right, let's just wrap this up.
One more name I need to throw in the mix, though, that we didn't talk about.
Can I ask you, let me just wrap this. Yeah. Would you buy, sell, hold Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen?
I would hold on Johnston and sell potentially Keenan Allen.
All right, what did you want to add?
I wanted to add another player that deserves to be in the mix here, Devontae Adams. Just watching that game, and we saw it from week 1. We knew he would kind of break out in week 2. I was trying to tell everyone to trade for him. He broke out to some extent. And then this past week, it wasn't great from an overall numbers besides the touchdown. They were really, really close, Stafford and Adams, on 2 more touchdowns. And this is just looking exactly like we've seen in the past with the Rams. Concentrated offense, those 2 players, and that connection and that rapport will get better as the season goes on. I think Adams will be a weekly top 12 player as we move forward, with Puka as well being that.
All right, our next topic is about Asthon Jeanty from Unsheeped Patriot on Twitter. What should managers do with Asthon Jeanty? 70 carries for 63 yards at Washington. He's had a pretty tough schedule. It'll get a little bit easier, especially this week against the Bears. But there are obviously some other worrying signs here for Jeanty. So what do we do?
CeeDee Lamb, high ankle sprain, 4 to 6 weeks.
Get out of here.
Breaking news.
Ooh,
that's brutal. Goes from saying I'm going to play next week to 4 to 6. Yikes for my teams. As far as Jeanty goes, though, Jacob, I'll let you start here.
So the stat I've got on the screen here is fantasy points per touch among the running backs. And of course, I really just wanted to highlight him, Bashal Tootin, him from last week. And of course, Cam Scattaboo, and then our boy Bill. But down at the very bottom here, below Kyle Monangai, below Amari and Hampton, we find Asthon Jeanty. He's getting a lot of touches. I think this number will increase, but it's kind of what I alluded to earlier, where it's like he's not getting any receptions. And we know that receptions and targets are worth so much more fantasy points than rush attempts. So it's just really, it's not a good equation right now. He's battling. He's doing everything he can, but like you're not getting fantasy points.
And then in the run game,
I'm going to keep starting him. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. I just want to say one thing. It is not, CeeDee Lamb is not out 4 to 6 weeks. CeeDee Lamb might be out 4 to 6 weeks. The report was It's a high ankle sprain, which is usually 4 to 6 weeks. What I saw earlier today was that it's less severe. They think it's a less severe high ankle sprain. So I'm still waiting to figure out that aspect of it. He's not necessarily out 4 to 6 weeks. High ankle sprains, unfortunately, can be an injury that,
ruins your year, essentially. It ruined Barkley's year. Yeah.
You could not come back right from it. I saw it like with Jonathan Taylor once upon a time.
Barkley as well.
His high ankle sprain, he is on IR. So I'm not ruling that out. But right now, cannot sit here and say with confirmation of any kind that CeeDee Lamb has any timetable. We just don't know.
That was just a report from Rappaport, so I was just putting it in there. But as far as Jeanty goes, Jacob mentioned it best, and he put this on Twitter. I mean, everything he's done this year has been on his own, essentially. He gained 145 of 143 yards after contact. What does that mean? It means that they can't block and create in the run game here. I watched every snap that you did a cut above, Jacob, from this past week, and they're running out of pistol, which they were not finding a lot of success from. The most success they found success on one pistol run where they had the sniffer come around and they took him out. But a lot of the time, Washington was just slanting in and just stopping these runs. All the runs inside were not working for the Raiders. There was one time they went under center, and I think they ran either duo or inside zone, and it worked. He made a nice cut, got after it, like 15, 17-yard gain. But outside of that, it just feels like there was not a lot of room to run for Asthon Jeanty. And this has basically been the story for 3 weeks. And we knew going in, the Raiders offensive line didn't have a lot of talent. We thought, all right, maybe they'll figure it out. They have Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly has not, in my mind, done a great job so far. And we'll get to that on the Bowers discussion later. But I have not liked what I've seen. I've watched 2 of those games now on tape, those Raiders games. It has not looked pretty.
Asthon Jeanty or Cam Scatterboo?
Jeanty.
Both play for bad teams. One of them catches passes.
Right. Yeah.
Neither team has to be this bad.
It's actually not a bad point, though. Like, if Jeanty's not giving these long touchdown runs, what is he offering more than Scatterboo when we know Scatterboo's going to get a lot of receptions?
Look, the way this works is in 3 weeks, we could be talking about, oh, well, now the Raiders are using Asthon Jeanty so differently. Look what they've done the last 3, right? I mean, if they don't start using him in the passing game, then they're dumb. So
I said Jeanty too, but somebody posted in the chat and was like, that's insane, but it's actually a decent conversation to have.
Like, we'd probably do Jeanty because if Tracy's coming back in 3 weeks from the shoulder injury, like projected, then they could still be back in a split. But it's like what Jacob said, it's not exactly a bell cow role for Jeanty anyway right now. He's not on the field for passing downs.
No, that does stink. He has more than 6. He has 16 or more carries. He has 17 or more carries in 2 of his 3 games. All right. Well, again, it's been a tough schedule for him. Washington does have a pretty good run defense. Patriots have had a good run defense. Chargers are just good. And I gets the Bears this week. Hopefully he can keep things going, but get things going. But it's not that easy of a schedule going forward for him. Okay. The Raiders, by the way, are super pass heavy. They're 5th in pass rate so far. And that metric, when the score is within 7 points, 2nd in pass rate. Only Cleveland has a higher pass rate than the Raiders. They can't run the ball. They know that. All right, so we can talk a little bit more about the Raiders now because our last topic is about tight ends. Free says, are we done taking tight ends in round 2 or 3? And I would say no. Obviously, I would have loved to see how things played out with George Kittle. He basically played 1 quarter and had a big quarter. I think McBride's been fine. And I think, don't forget, you can't just focus on whether or not the tight ends have been busts. How many busts have there been in rounds 2 and 3? How many busts have been in round 1? Right? Don't be too hard on the tight ends. I do think, one thing that we'll have to explore every year is if we should just stop criticizing the people who take Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and all these guys ahead of Trey McBride or Brock. Like these guys who are, these elite quarterbacks are Burrow's out for the year, basically, I know. But they're basically the safest players in football. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're safe. They could be bad, right? Like, they could be bad.
I don't think bad. They could just get injured.
Mahomes the last 2 years has been a huge
He's not elite, yeah. He's not fantasy-wise.
He was, though. He was drafted as the last 2 years. I'm not saying that you can't have a bust there. But I do think, that's the one discussion that's kind of interesting is maybe we should just stop taking these young running backs.
Interesting.
Be good and just draft Josh Allen, who's had 2 huge games. All right, anyway, but are we done taking tight ends in round 2 or 3? I'll let you guys talk for a while. I just want to say this. I watch tape, not all that well, but I have about a 50% confidence level in the assessment I'm about to give.
Okay.
I watched some of Brock Bowers' routes from week 1 and compared them to some of his routes from week 3. And I believe the knee is hampering him. I don't think he looks the same. I saw a lot of like really nice cuts to get open in week 1.
Yep.
And I don't really see that in week 2. It looks like he's more gliding than cutting to me. In week 3, I'm sorry. So I think the knee is an issue for Brock Bowers. But
definitely, Pete Carroll said like after their week 2 game, like they were just trying to get him out there and playing, and he looked okay. Like, I don't know. That doesn't sound like a player who's healthy.
He might need a bye week at this point. He definitely didn't look as explosive as he normally does, but I also feel like this was my biggest concern. And I drafted a lot of Bowers because I felt like the price was right. He was being priced beyond, like below that, where he was drafted in snake drafts and in the auction drafts because no one wants to spend a tight end. But my one concern with, and I drafted him because I thought he's a generational talent, which I still believe he is, even though he might be playing hurt and that could take it back. But my one concern, which is proving to be true, at least from watching the tape this week against the Washington Commanders, is they designed the entire offense last year to get him the ball. It was all about getting Bowers the ball. This is not what Chip Kelly is doing at all. When you watch the tape, you can clearly see this offense is not at all designed to get Brock Bowers the ball.
Was it in week 1 though? Before the injury,
I'd have to take a look at that, and maybe it is the case. I'd have to relook at that tape, but at least watching this game, man, it was not at all designed to get him the football, and he's in line all the time instead of in the slot, which I don't love, and that's been proven through time to not be good for fantasy. There's times he's used as a blocker. It just doesn't chip and release. There were so many chip and release plays for Brock Bowers in this game, especially in the first half. So I don't know. I don't have much confidence right now in him returning value. I still want to believe in him. He's a generational talent, but he has to get healthy.
I was pretty encouraged by the Raiders in week 1. It was an easy matchup, so I didn't want to overreact to it. But like a lot of the route concepts we saw, I liked. But since then, the line is a huge problem.
Right.
And that was part of what I was excited for with Bowers, was that we might have more upside than just the short stuff, that we could maybe see him get more one-on-ones down the field, be able to get some yak that wasn't just catch and turn around and everybody swarming you. And that came through like the line being able to protect Geno, which, by the way, Geno had a 66% pressure rate this week. That's partially on him, though. His average time to throw is 3.5 seconds. He only got the ball out quick, 2.5 seconds or less, on like 8% of his throws. It was like the third lowest game of any qualified quarterback, out of like 5,000 quarterbacks over the past 10 or 15 years. Wow. So like he needs to get the ball out quicker. But also the line is definitely not playing well. We obviously see that in the run game. And so we're hoping the run game would be good. That would be a threat to defenses. That would open more up for Bowers. There's a lot of things going wrong, basically, is where I'm at. Like obviously the injury, but also the ecosystem's not very good. I just looked it up. In week 1, he had a 23% first read target rate in the first half. No, that's not right. Sorry.
Come on, Jacob.
I know.
30 any stats.
36% first read target rate in the first half. This is courtesy of the Fantasy Points data suite. So 36% is really good. He had a 32% target share overall, with a 9.5 yard average depth of target. So the way I remember it in the first half was like, wow, he's getting some explosive plays. Yeah. How many yards did he get?
He had a great 3 quarters in the first half. He had 103 yards in 3 quarters. I think I feel confident chalking this up to the injury, and I wouldn't design my offense around Brock Bowers if he's not moving right.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they have a fairly early bye. They have a week 4, 5, 6, 7, week 8 bye. It's not the worst. It's not the earliest. It's not the latest.
I think there's some hope, especially if they're able to get the run game going at all. Because I don't think Geno's played very well. Obviously, everybody saw the Island game against the Chargers, but just as a whole, I don't think he's played up to how he's played in the past. And still, like, they've created a lot of explosives. And part of that is they're holding the ball forever trying to do that. And I wonder if that's sustainable with Chip Kelly and what he's drawn up. But, like, we've seen pretty surprising efficiency from guys like Trey Tucker, who's never been any good at like creating with his opportunities.
So let me get away from Bowers and address the full question here is, are we done drafting tight ends in rounds 2 and 3?
I might be.
Trey McBride feels like he's totally on track.
Yeah, McBride's been fine.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, obviously You could have drafted Tyler Warren. That looks like a great pick right now. You could have just added Juwan Johnson. I'm skeptical that Juwan Johnson. Let's see what Juwan Johnson looks like in another 5 weeks, another 3 weeks or whatever.
How about Dan's guy, Jake Ferguson?
It's unreal.
Ferguson could be a huge steal if Lamb misses time. And by the way, they've already addressed it. The Cowboys have already addressed it. The 4 to 6 week timetable, I think, was just what high ankle sprains often are. So they are not giving any time.
Sorry for reiterating a report I saw from a credited reporter. My bad.
No, but he did not report that Lamb is out 4 to 6 weeks. I think
okay. If
you read it again, I think he probably could have been worded a little bit better. I think what he was trying to say was high ankle sprains are often in the 4 to 6 week range.
I think what I know is I'll never try to break news on this podcast again.
Yeah. I don't think. I think the mid-round tight ends are often horrible values. And
that's what I think. Yeah,
kind of look that way right now, but
as usual, terrible.
Let's not draw any conclusions through 3 weeks, and let's get a nice night from Sam Laporta tonight. We need a nice night, and then I'll be 2-1 in baked burger.
Coming back and be. I mean, you can't get. You see how good my team is in that league? It's just filthy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I had neighbors in Wandale, so I had like a 90-something% chance to win, and now it's 50-50.
Oh, really? That's what happened? I didn't even know you were playing for now. You've really gone back and forth on like tanking to playing now. It's like
I don't have my first round pick, so
so you kind of have to.
Listen, I got to tell you something, Dan. Again, with this, unless you want to hear the concert story too, but it's a busy weekend for me. So I told Dan I'm playing this guy in tennis on Saturday. This was Friday. We were having this discussion.
Yeah, this guy.
I'm playing this guy in tennis. He's really good. I want to see how I measure up because I feel like I can play with him, and he's one of the better players on the 3-5 team that I'm hoping to join next year. So we only had an hour and a half to play. So we decided instead of sets, we're going to play up to 10 games.
Interesting.
The score was 10-0, 10 bagel.
You lost 10-0?
What do you think?
I'm hoping not.
I lost 10-0.
Damn, dude. What
What
happened?
do you think?
I did not play poorly. I played pretty well.
Okay. So he's that good. He shouldn't be a 3-5 then.
He is the most precise.
Wait a second. Is he a sandbagging tennis player? I didn't even know that was a thing.
He doesn't hit hard. He doesn't have a big serve. He is the most accurate player. He has great drop shot. He puts the ball anywhere he wants. He wore me out. The second game of the match went to 9 or 10 deuces, and I lost, and I was gone. I was just like completely out of breath. This guy crushed me. Wow, but you know what? It was a humbling experience. I'm gonna get back. Of course, I'm playing again this week, not against him, thank God. But I've got my work cut out for me. So it was
Stephen Ware. I see. We're not giving fake news. I saw the report. It was worded poorly. I apologize. It's gonna be okay.
It was not the best tweet ever. It was like
not the best tweet.
High ankle sprain, which is usually 4 to 6 weeks, but
it's gonna be fine. We've corrected it since.
Which backfields have the lowest combined XFP, expected fantasy point numbers? So the whole backfield.
Whoa.
No, Raiders.
Raiders are
Giants.
Low. Raiders are 4th lowest.
Bengals.
Giants are middle of the pack. A lot of targets for Cam Skadaboo in week 3.
This is factoring that in the passing game. Okay, I need to just.
Of course.
I thought for some reason.
The Bengals.
The Bengals are dead last.
There you go.
For reference, the middle of the pack teams like the Giants are 21 expected fantasy points for the whole backfield on a weekly basis. The top teams are like 27, 28. The Bengals are 11 expected fantasy points per week for the whole backfield.
Who else?
This was a gold mine in the past. This was like a great fantasy backfield for expected fantasy points.
Yeah, no. So Raiders are 4th worst. I would expect them to be higher.
Texans.
Bengals.
Good one.
Titans. Chiefs. Raiders. Texans.
The Chiefs is such a good one. Such a good call. Watching that last night for from that all 22 view, they generate nothing in the run game from a movement standpoint. But the Giants came in as a pretty bad run defense, and they could not do anything in the run game. And they don't throw their running backs really. So,
yep, no, they don't. And then of course you've got.
Well, they do if it's behind the line of scrimmage and the running back's not facing the right way. And isn't
they'll do that. That was wild rep by Pacheco.
You've got Kareem Hunt
and then you turned the wrong way. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. All right, we're out of here. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. We will talk to you next time on Fantasy Football Today and Beyond the Box Score. See you later.